All right, Des, I've got this could be like an multi-day long interview because to me, you've got the best job in the absolute world. You live in the best town in the world, my favorite town in the world, other than the town I live in. And so this is Des. Janet, you live in Jackson, Wyoming, right? You're a real estate broker,
Yep.
correct? So tell me, before we get into the meat of this, just tell me a little bit about your story about how you got to where you were, because you didn't start in Jackson, correct?
No, I grew up in the Northeast, in Rhode Island, most specifically, born in Boston. Came from a real estate family. My dad had a background in commercial real estate, and also before that career worked as a carpenter. So my whole life was spent in houses that were in under some stage of construction or improvement, and so I kind of got a full circle tour of what that business is like. If I stayed home sick as a kid, I was going on commercial site inspections
Sure.
um, for various clients for him. So that was kind of the background. Came on a family trip here as a kid. I think I was 10 years old and fell in love with it, and basically tried to spend as much time here as I could. After that, I was fortunate enough to go to a summer camp out here. I worked at that same summer camp as a kid, or like through college, and been here been here since then,
Okay.
and got into the real estate business about 12 years ago.
Now, have you been in other ski towns or?
No, just Jackson. I mean,
Okay.
I work over in the Teton Valley area, so Grand Targhee is still within our market area, but just the Jackson market. I did go to college in Vermont, and my dad's family's from Vermont, so that part of the world and the ski industry is very close to home. That's where I learned to ski and spent a lot of
Sure.
time there.
I recently, says side tangent, met like one of the coolest guys ever. Me and my son went fly fishing in Blue Ridge, Georgia, and our guide, he grew up in Jackson, and his family, I know you know him because he said his dad was like the top real estate attorney there in Jackson, but they're third generation, like, and they own that barn, that famous painting of
Oh
Jackson.
yeah,
Their family owns that anyway. So his dad, he's like real estate attorney, just grumpy, and then his brother's like doctor, hates his life. And, he's this guy fly fishing 65 days out of the year, and it's like,
yeah.
just a cool guy. But go ahead.
Well, I was going to say that it's funny. There is a lot of crossover between Georgia and Jackson. Um, I think a lot of it has to do with the direct flights from Atlanta that have been here for a long time. You get people who split time between here and there,
Yeah,
um, and it's some pretty interesting stories.
sure. So where obviously, me, I'm a ski fanatic. Where would you recommend, kind of creatively how to invest in Jackson right now? Because I know if you nothing cash flows or anything like that, if you just buy
It's
a
it's a
place.
really good question. I mean, I think at this point you're really trying to focus in on the core value, irreplaceable location, proximity to whatever amenity. If there's a personal use component, great. I mean, that you're going to be drawn to either being right at the base of the ski area or closer to fishing or mountain bike trails or whatever. Um, but really, that underlying location, there isn't really room for expansion here. So
Right.
the infrastructure is in place. That certain things will improve. There may be some redevelopment, especially if things that were built in the 60s, 70s, and 80s that just don't meet current um, market demand in terms of quality or size or configuration. Um, so I think really kind of the older condos at the base of the ski resort Teton Village as the infrastructure improves, as hotels or high end condo buildings are being built, the closer in you get, even if you're buying something that's 30, 40, even approaching 50 years old, you're that to me is a really good value proposition. Those ADRs for short-term rental
Yeah.
rates, even for things that are largely in original condition. If you're 100 yards from where you pop your skis off versus having to hop on a shuttle bus, it's a very different value for folks, and that's actually evolving too, as we get people visiting here more regularly with the multi-resort ski passes. um, they are choosing convenience over the cost because have the sunk cost of their lift tickets, and a
Yeah.
lot of people, we're seeing people really prioritizing being at the base of the mountain versus a little further away and having to deal with uh, schlepping their stuff around in and out of the car and parking. So that convenience factor, we're seeing very little turnover in that market, and I think when you find a good opportunity, they go very, very quickly. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, that's a non-negotiable with me and my 6 kids.
yeah,
Gotta be.
I get it. I mean,
Yeah.
we've got a third on the way, and any travel now is trying to streamline the picking up and putting down of stuff.
Yeah. What, and what are your favorite little towns in Idaho around there?
I really have. I mean, I like Victor because it's the worker community. You get a lot of folks who have longstanding ties to Jackson, who either for them to get into the market, that's the closest bedroom community that has a little town center. You got a small kind of grocery store, deli, a couple restaurants. The Victor Emporium has their kind of trinket shop, but also like an old fashioned soda fountain, like with milkshakes and whatever. And it feels like a small Western town. Um, a little further out, I've actually really enjoyed the changes happening around the Tetonia area. In the northern end of Teton Valley, you get the spectacular mountain views there. There are places where you can actually get a little elevation and see all the way to the Sawtooth Mountains in central Idaho.
Okay.
Um, excellent fishing. Like once you get a little further north in the end in the valley, you've got world-class fishing about 45 minutes away on the South Fork, on the Henry's Fork, and the Teton River, all right there. And it's often overlooked, but people are discovering it fairly quickly. Um,
Sure. And in Teutonia, let's say, is there with the views you're talking about, if I buy a lot, is there utilities up there? I imagine there's, yeah.
it's a really good question. You don't really have public water and sewer unless you're right in the incorporated town of Teutonia.
Mhm.
Outside, you're on well and septic. You may have some community water systems here and there. Um, you do have a relatively high water table, which is great for the agricultural interests out there, but can make um, construction a little more difficult depending on where you are. You may have to have a raised leach field, so it's a good question. Picking if you are looking at something to build there, you have to keep that in mind.
But there is power out there.
There's power. You've got fiber optic internet along most of the county roads at this point.
Okay.
And so you actually, from a connectivity standpoint, it's better than most places in the rural Mountain West, which is great. It's been that was actually a big draw for folks early on in the COVID lockdown periods. You get people who were taking otherwise empty seasonal vacation rentals and saying, "Oh, I can get as good or better internet service than you could get at home," and setting up shop for 2 or 3 months,
Sure.
which is really good for folks as they lost their short-term rentals or even had long-term renters who had to bail on leases because of income uncertainty, especially if they were tied to the tourism industry.
Yeah. And what do you think of that development, the Shooting Star? Is it Shooting Star?
Yeah, Shooting Star, right at the base of the ski resort in Teton Village. It's kind of the top 1% of the 1% of
Right.
wealthiest folks in America. It's it's one of these rare communities where it's a modern platted golf course community right at the base of the ski resort. At this point, your cost to get in, I mean, the only property that's publicly for sale in there is a vacant lot, about an acre and a half, listed for $10 million.
Yeah.
It's a beautifully designed golf course. Most people would say that it's the nicest golf course in the area. Tom Fazio was the designer. It's pretty incredible what they were able to do, basically taking an old cow pasture and having a geographically interesting result with a lot of earth movement, taking advantage of natural water features there. But it's you have to know a lot of people to get in. You can't get a membership without property ownership at this point.
Right.
And the waiting list is years long to get in. So you have to really position yourself.
But Teton Country Club is not that. That's not that unaffordable. I mean,
so Teton Pines just down the road is a little different. They actually shifted from a semi-private course to a full private course in terms of access to the clubhouse amenities. You can still get some public tee times, but they're much harder to get than they were before.
Yeah.
Their membership is now full, which is a big change. I mean, 18 months ago, you could walk in and sign up. I think they'll still find spots, but almost all of these golf course communities, save for Jackson Hole Golf and Tennis, that's the only one that I'm aware of that has readily available memberships at this point.
Okay. So what are you bullish on? Satonia, and then like what other areas do you like?
I think there's some really good opportunity in the areas south of Jackson towards Hoback Junction. It's been you're on the kind of surface highway corridor there, but there's a large multi-year road expansion project there that is adding drawing additional utilities. There's already sewer expansion in that area, and there should be some additional water expansion. I think it's only a matter of time till you get some real quality infill development there. You've got geographic constraints because of the river valley and national forest, but you've got great views, great access to public lands, and you're 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes outside of the incorporated town, brand new school. There's just a lot of opportunity there, and I think you can find underpriced properties that may have older homes that they need of redevelopment, and I think everybody's looking for that next opportunity, and I see that south of town.
Is that still in Wyoming, or is it in?
It is still in Wyoming. So you've got the Wyoming tax benefits, and you're in Teton County, so you've got the top school system of the state.
Yeah, and then what's that area called again?
Hoback Junction.
Hoback. Okay. When is the sewer going to be expanded?
So what the town of Jackson owns the sewer facilities in that part of the valley. They're actually south, just along the river. And when the state school district built the new school, they actually paid to run I believe it's a 10-inch sewer line down to the school site. And because it's the state, were able to utilize the public right of way to run that in there, and it is sized for additional connections. What they need to do is some state level entities to basically have tax collection, and they've got different names in different parts of the country. In Wyoming, we call them ISDs. It's an improvement service district. And so some of the neighboring property owners down there are in the process of trying to get that organized, and then that will be the kind of tip of the spear to lead with conversations with the county to get higher density development approved. Right now, you've got some 100+ acre ranch properties where your smallest lot size you'd be able to divide them into is 35 acres at this point. And so we're going to have some progressive thinking in terms of land use and
Yeah.
planning there. But you've got the infrastructure in place. It's just a matter of expanding it at this point.
Yeah, I've looked at those systems. They use them a lot, actually, west of us in Huntsville, Alabama. And I think it's the future. It's just like these small little mini septic facilities. Have you seen? Are y'all?
Yeah, we haven't seen many of them in Teton County yet. They are being employed in the Star Valley area. So south of here, it's about 45 minutes south, in Lincoln County, so near Alpine, Wyoming. There's a big area along the surface highway there that had been zoned for what they basically call multi-use. So a mix of residential and commercial. Their land development regulations and code is pretty antiquated, and just people had not really thought of all the potential uses. But we're seeing a bunch of these private. It's not a full sewer system, but it's a series of smaller septic systems that'll employ enzymes and grinders to basically speed up the process of breaking down solids and more efficiently distributing the wastewater into the ground. And you can do it at a smaller scale and really get higher density than you think you might without having a true public sewer system.
Yeah. All right. What as a broker, what's your target market? What's the customer you're going after?
It's a great question. I mean, I'm sheepish to acknowledge that this is a really cash heavy market. So we're a little better insulated from interest rate changes certainly in certain segments of the market. I mean, I think I kind of split right down the middle where I've got local working family clients. They may get some outside help to get in or move up in the market. Either from their families or at this point we're starting to see employers helping to kick in for down payment assistance to retain valuable employees.
Yeah.
And then it's the vacation rental or retiree, second, third, fourth, fifth homeowner. You get a lot of people who are drawn in by the tax benefits, both lack of state income tax and long-term asset protection vehicles the state of Wyoming offers, although not unlike some of the things you see in Tennessee. But the truth is, you get people who are friends of friends. The longer you're in this business, I always say it's 1.5 degrees of separation. If you can identify somebody from the area where somebody's coming from, you probably know each other, know their next door neighbor or something. And that's really the foundation of my business. It's the word of mouth connections. And those folks really run the gamut. It can be somebody looking in the 8-figure range, or they could be trying to just get a foothold in the market, in the form of an entry-level condo or vacant land with a long-term plan for establishing residency or whatever down the road.
Yeah, I can't remember their name, but it's my favorite architecture firm is there in Jackson, and it's like CLB or something
Yeah, I
like.
was going to say CLB is one of the most prominent Western architecture firms that's based here. It's formerly the one of the 3 partners has since broken off, John Carney. So he started his own separate. He's the C in CLB, but Kevin Burke and Eric Logan are the L and B, who are the other partners, and they're still in place. And they've got really, really great vision. I mean, we've got the benefit of having world-class architecture and building and construction management firms here that I mean, I talked to a friend who's a a project lead for one of the high-end builders here, and they have a $30 million construction project in the works, and we're talking single family homes that you couldn't even find anything for sale for 30 million 5-10 years ago.
Yeah, well, no, that's where I was going with that. It's like I'm amazed with the amount of building, because I mean, I personally know a handful of people building in Jackson, and they're not building small house, they're building like they hired CLB. So, it's like I don't know, it seems do they have problems like finding subs just like everybody else?
They do. The difference is the highest end builders will pay their subs to show up and make sure that they're available. It
Yeah.
makes the people who are trying to do a smaller scale renovation addition project, they're you might add 50 to 100% of the estimated timeline and in your budget increases to get anything done at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, to get a plumber to show up, it's a minimum $300-400 expense, and if you're talking about getting them to do competitive bids, you've got to have a large enough project to really get their interest, which is it's unfortunate, but that is the reality. Where if you have somebody who's looking at a 2 or 3 year construction timeline, they're paying whatever it takes to move the needle as close to their desired move-in date as possible, and that's where these architecture firms that stay on in a project management role all the way through, they add substantial value to that segment of the market, and then the contractors that are winning those bids are they are going so far above and beyond what you would expect of a normal general contractor in the rest of the world.
Like,
It's a long time relationship business.
yeah, give me an example of like what they do way far above and beyond like what you're
You
talking
know,
about.
I mean, to the point of essentially doing like, same builder friend that I referred to before had a target move-in date of like December 20th, so that this family could host a large Christmas gathering in their brand new home. They were helping to coordinate delivery of furniture, installation of Christmas decorations, and on Christmas Eve, I think there was a toilet leak in one of the upstairs bathrooms, and having to leave their family to make sure that there's a plumber on site and a representative from the GC firm there to get it
Yeah.
repaired as quickly as possible. These are things, it's not, you don't kick it down the road.
Yeah.
You go to your plumber's house and pick them up and take them
Right.
to the site, and it's that level of service that that a lot of these folks are expecting when they're coming from other markets, but it's also baked into the front end
Yeah.
competitive bid process when you're one of 2, 3, 4 firms being interviewed for a job.
Yeah, that's out here, even in the southeast, that's just there's uh this was like a year ago, but this guy had like 10 10 custom houses, couldn't find framers. So he drove down to Florida and just hired framers and drove them back up in a van and put them all up in a hotel room for like a year. He's like doing like creative stuff like that. So I just didn't know if y'all, I mean, it's like
It
Jackson's,
happens. No, it
yeah,
100% happens. I've heard of framing crews being brought in from um, all over the country, especially if it's a certain type of design. I mean, some of these timber frame homes are very few framing crews qualified to work on
right.
that size, quality, and scale property. So they're bringing folks in from all over. Um, the You may have seen, there was an article in the Wall Street Journal a while back. One of the owners of the Pittsburgh Steelers, Thomas Tull, is buying up a huge chunk of land, just kind of aggregating pieces of land north of Tetonia in Idaho, and he brought a guy who builds Amish style barns, um, hired him for like a 3-year project to build some huge facility there. And I actually had a lodging property for sale in Tetonia. There was a art motel, 20-room motel and RV park, and he wanted to this GC building this barn wanted to master lease it for 3 years for his crew to
Yeah,
to
sure.
to stay there, because I mean, I guess for at that scale, he wanted to have guys that he trusted
Yeah,
and knew they could deliver the quality, but at the same time, there was no way he was going to be able to assemble a team on the fly to be able to do that either.
yeah. Did you get that sold?
I did get it sold. Got that was an interesting one. That's one of the textbook examples of a mom and pop run business where the books were missing a lot of cash in hand transactions that could have resulted in hundreds of thousands of dollars of additional value at the time of sale, and
Yeah,
had an experienced operator come in and buy it, and they had a good value add plan for it. And I think in year one, obviously 2021 was a inflated year for all
yeah.
sorts of lodging figures, but I think they tripled their top line revenue in year one,
That's awesome.
compared to what was on the books. So that was a good successful story
Cool.
for sale in a tough environment, and the buyers were able to take the place to where it needed to go.
That's awesome. Well, hey, I want to be respectful of your time. I need to go, but where can people find you, Des?
The best way is through my company website. It's Jackson Hole Sotheby's International Realty, jhsir.com, or my sales team, the McPeak Group. So it's McPeak, MCPEAK group.com. They're 4 partners. We're the number 3 medium sales team in the state of Wyoming in terms of dollar volume last year. I think in excess of 150 million in total sales.
Yeah.
And we happy to answer any questions. I love talking shop. It's a really fun market, especially because it sells itself in most regards, and I can make sure that I work as a facilitator rather than a pure salesman. I think that's where I truly shine, trying to know everything I can about my market.
Oh, absolutely. You did a great job at it. So, hey, thanks for your time.
Thanks, Jimmy. Take care.
Yeah.